Have you ever heard the story about the little slave girl that poisoned her whole master's family and then haunted the place for all of eternity? Get your popcorn. On today's edition of Fuck Around and Find Out, the spiritual reparations version, we have the haunting of Myrtle's Plantation. It's in St. Francisville, Louisiana. Today it is a beautiful bed and breakfast, as all plantations turn into. Spirit. The story started off with newlyweds purchasing this plantation, and they were Mr. and Mrs. Woodruff. Mr. Woodruff was a judge, but he took a particular liking and hating to one of his slaves named Chloe. He would physically, verbally, and mentally abuse this girl. She had to be anywhere between 13 and 16 years old. Of course, he SA'd her frequently and was just a nasty colonizer. He was terrible to Chloe, and Chloe wanted to do something to try to get into his good graces. She was tired. So she decided that one day that she was going to eavesdrop on one of his conversations to try to get some tea on how to make him calm down, like trying to help herself basically. But Mr. Woodruff caught her eavesdropping. Instead of sending her away like a normal person would do, he had to make an example out of her. So this grown man cut off both of her ears. She was so ashamed. She was embarrassed, humiliated, so she took to wearing a green turban to cover her missing ears and scars. But Chloe was pissed, and she was not going to let him play her like that. Now, the next part of this story is what I like to call swamp talk, because this pot of key, the story, changes depending on who you're talking to. Some say it was an accident, others say it was on purpose. I'm more inclined to believe that she did this on purpose. And no, I do not support the unaliving of children or anyone, but this is what she came to. On Mr. Woodruff's daughter's ninth birthday, Chloe put Orlander, and sorry if I'm saying it wrong, correct me y'all, Orlander leaves in the cake. Now, around the bayou, some say that she was only trying to poison Mrs. Woodruff and the children so that she can nurse them back to health and be back in Mr. Woodruff's good graces. Others say that she wanted him to experience a loss as significant as she did, if not worse. Either way, the dose was lethal. It ended up killing Mrs. Woodruff and two of her kids. Y'all heard the saying, all kinfolk ain't skinfolk. So news of this spread amongst slaves and got back to Mr. Woodruff. So he hung Chloe. And it's been on and cracking ever since then. Some say she cursed this house before he hung her, but spiritual reparations definitely commenced after he hung her. After he hung her, he put some bricks on her body and threw her in the Mississippi River. Everyone that purchased this plantation after the Woodruffs suffered or died or something. Right after the Woodruffs, owned the plantation, a man and his 5 children bought it, and the man and 4 of his children died of tuberculosis in the house. The house was then passed down to the man's surviving daughter. So she and her husband occupied the place. They were the Winters. Mr. Winters was a Sunday school teacher. He taught Sunday school to children on this plantation. One day, a man came to the front of this plantation and yelled for him to come outside. Upon him going outside, he shot Mr. Winters. People still complain about hearing his footsteps and the drop of his body on the porch. The movie The Long Hot Summer was actually filmed in this plantation, and it was so haunted that the cast and crew was like, nah. They couldn't wait for this movie to wrap up. I mean, furniture was moving around, they would see apparitions, but they also seen a young black woman in a green turban just walking around the house. In the 70s, Chloe decided that she was going to bump up the activity. New owners purchased this plantation and wanted to insure it, and the insurance company required them to take pictures of the property to make sure that the property was in good condition. So he took the pictures as required, and y'all, Chloe's full apparition showed up in one of his pictures that he was intending to send to the insurance company, not to prove any paranormal activity, but to get the house insured. Y'all see that? You can see her turban, the whole outlining of her body. She's transparent. You can even see the panelings behind her. There's also a haunted mirror inside of the house. When people look in it, they say they can see Chloe. They also complain of seeing the Woodruff children. This spot up here on the mirror will not go away. They have resilvered it, they have replaced the mirror, and it always comes back. Like I said, this is a bed and breakfast today, but it's also considered to be one of the most haunted houses in America. Do good and be good.